Okay, chapter 18. Chapter 18. We have some verb parsing here, and we will need to actually discuss how we want to handle translating these verb forms because of the possibility of passive meanings versus middle meanings. So that will occupy our attention a little bit here anyway in this first stage. Let me ask you, are there any questions as to the forms themselves and how to parse them? So let's do number 4 here. We have dunatai. Everybody say that with me. Dunatai. So the first thing we want to do is see if there's anything clear and identifiable that we can see on this form to help us with its parsing. Look at the tie ending. Does that look like an identifiable personal ending? Yeah. And when you see tie, what person and number should you be thinking? Yeah, third singular. Is tie an active or a middle passive kind of ending? It's middle passive. So we know that in terms of voice, it's M or P. Tense. Over here, we have gender. Person and case. Realize that what Mounce is doing here is he's giving you categories that could apply to nouns or verbs. So if this is a verb, person applies. If it's a noun, case applies. So don't put case here if it's a verb. Out of tense and gender, we want to use tense in this box since this is a verb. So right now, everything's present. What mood are we in? The indicative. What is the lexical form of dunatai? Yeah, and this you won't know this unless you've learned the vocab word as a vocab word. But dunamai is it. What does dunamai mean? Yeah, toucan. Toucan Sam. You remember Toucan Sam? Fruit Loops. That's right. To be able. And if the subject is 3S, then we have really 3 possibilities. He, she, it, what? Yeah, either can or is able. So any of those are possible. All right? So Taylor, do you have any questions about that?
Yes. So he put that it was a deponent.
Ah, right. Yeah, that's right. Now, you see that the lexical form has my on it when other lexical forms that are supposed to be the first person singular, present active indicative should have omega. And there is no omega form. It's not duno, for example. You see? So he calls that deponent. So I'm okay if you want to put in parentheses deponent or something like that. I'm not going to require you to use that term. I prefer to use in this sort of a situation middle. It's not the middle form and the passive form would be identical, but there really isn't a true passive meaning to dunatai. So if I were parsing this, I put middle passive because I was looking at the tie, but I would call this a present middle indicative. He might call it a present deponent indicative, or some people would even refer to it as a present middle deponent indicative.
So you said that the middle and the passive are translated the same, but Mounce in his answer key always puts like itself or himself whenever it's a middle translation. Should we do the same?
Okay, yeah. Actually, if I said the middle and the passive are going to be translated the same way, that's not actually right. The middle and the active can sometimes be translated the same way. The passive will be translated in such a way that the subject is affected by the action because someone does the action to the subject. All right. So when you have a verb that truly has a middle form, meaning there is an active form and then there's a different middle form, then there is some nuance where the subject doing the action also affects the subject in some way. So the subject is active in performing the act, but the subject is also affected by the action that the subject does. I was talking with my other Greek class about this. Let me give you another example. All right, let's think of washing. Okay, I could say something like, I wash the cat. So this is active. Who is affected by the washing activity here? The cat. The cat entirely, hopefully. All right. And I could say something like, in terms of a passive construction, I was washed by my mommy. Okay? Who's affected by this action? I. So the subject is affected by that action in a passive construction. The direct object is affected by it in an active construction. Okay? Now, in a middle construction, I could say something like this. I washed my hands. Okay, so who's performing the action here? I, the subject. Who's affected by the action? Yeah, my hands are what are being washed, but my hands are also attached to me, who am performing the action. So you see, there's some sense in which I'm both active in performing the activity, and at the same time, I'm affected by it too. Okay, and Greek could use the middle voice for that. Okay, so notice the active, I wash, or let me go ahead and make that past time to make them both the same tense. I washed the cat and I washed my hands. That's the same translation for washed, isn't it? Although this would have been an active voice verb in Greek, this would have been a middle voice verb in Greek. Okay? And they're different forms, but the same English translation. Yes?
So for something like air fry, why is that middle?
Yeah, that's a good question. It is a verb that's intransitive, and so there's not a direct object, right? I, as the subject of that verb, can clearly be said of me that I'm active in performing it, right? I'm going, so I'm moving my legs. I'm active, and at the same time, when I'm going, is my whole body affected by that activity? There's a sense in which my location changes, right? I'm now in a different place. So, I mean, I can't psychoanalyze the Greek mind, but I can understand perhaps why a middle form was used for a verb that involved a change of location.
So what, like some I don't know the words for like swimming or something, or running, would those be middle as well?
Yeah, not always. Not always. There are there are some motion verbs that are middle. So the future form of to go, I will go, it's actually a future middle that's used instead of a future active form. So it's elusomai. Yeah, but there are other verbs, and this is why this is so complicated, and people aren't really able to fully explain the Greek verbal system when it comes to voice and especially middle voice, is there are other motion verbs that use an active form. So, yeah, I can't purely base it on the fact that I've changed locations by the activity, because there are active forms of doing that too in the past tense. So, and we'll see those as we come to them.
So when we parse a middle verb, how would you like us to write the
Okay, yeah. So when you come to a verb that's middle, if there is an active form of the verb, and this is truly a middle form that's different from the active, I'm okay for now you using Mounce's gloss for oneself, for himself, okay? Just so that you can indicate for me that you know that that's a middle form, okay? And if it's a truly passive meaning, then give me the passive meaning. There's going to be situations like in number 1 where that form, let's go ahead and look at it. We have another one with tie ending, right? So that's third singular. And instead of duna, I'm using pistou as my my lexical form. So this is from pistuo, and the parsing is going to be present, and this could be middle or passive, couldn't it? Indicative. So what I'm going to do here is show you that you could actually translate this in one of two ways, and they're not to be understood the same way. The middle would be something like he believes, and the passive, he believes in some way that affects him. So Mounce would say he believes for himself. That's so wooden. I hate to use it, but without having a lexicon in front of you and seeing what the middle means in different contexts, you can't always know how best to translate the middle form of something. But if that's the middle, and what I'd like you to do if you're going to give me both is to put M for one and P for the other. This is he is believed. Okay? Because the middle meaning and the passive meaning are different even though they are identical in form. In the middle, he is doing the believing, and in the passive, someone is believing him. Okay? Any other questions about this? Yeah, let's take a look at number 9. So we have agapomita, right? Just looking at the beginning of this verb form, what can you tell me the lexical form is? Yeah, what's the vocab word? Agapao. That's the lexical form, agapao. Good. And this means that it's what kind of a verb? You have a-o, e-o, and uh-oh. It's a contract verb. All right, good. And that means that this alpha is going to contract with connecting vowels, and so I won't always see that alpha, will I? And so don't expect to see it. Notice here, I don't see it, do I? I see an omega that is the result of some contraction that's happened. But that's okay. I don't need to really worry about the contraction as much as I need to be able to identify what my personal ending is here. Do you see a personal ending on agapomita? What is it? Yeah, and it's which part? It's metha. So that's first plural. And is that the first plural of the active or the middle passive personal endings we've learned? It's the middle passive, okay? So we know that this could be middle or passive. We know the tense is present because that's what they all are right now, and everything's indicative. So how am I going to translate this? First plural is who? We. So the middle meaning is something like we do such and such. Passive is going to be we are. Remember, I'm going to, because this is present, passive, present, I'm going to use a present form of to be. We are blanked, right? So someone's doing this action to us. So if it's passive, it's we are loved, okay? If it's middle, then it's something like we love, and Mounce will put something like for ourselves, because in the middle voice, there is some sense in which the subject is implicated, affected by the action that they do.
In his answer key, he does the middle voice as we are loving ourselves. Would you rather us translate it like that you have right there?
I would very, very much caution against translating it as we love ourselves, because sometimes the middle voice means that reflexive idea. We perform the action literally on ourselves, but sometimes the middle voice does not involve that. Sometimes you're doing something in your own interest, but you're not actually performing the activity on your person. So there's no really good stock translation for all middle forms. unfortunately. So as sort of a beginning exercise, this kind of a translation is often given as a way to get sort of kick-started.
Very nice.
Mm-hmm.
What was the distinction you made between the passive and the middle? Passive, the action is being done to us?
Yeah, so in passive, whoever the subject is, if it's a truly passive idea, then the subject's passive, right? Someone else is doing the action to the subject. But in middle voice, the subject is performing the action. But the subject is also affected by the action in some way. All right. Any other questions here as to the...
Yes, number 8.
Number 8, he threw in a non-verb. Sneaky, sneaky. So we're going to be using case, gender, number categories and not tense, voice, and mood and that sort of thing. So what's the case here? What are we looking at?
Looking at the third declension word.
This is third declension noun, absolutely. Who remembers the lexical form?
Nuktos.
Yeah, it's nukes. Nukes, and nuktos is our genitive case form, genitive singular. Who knows what the gender of nukes is? What's that? It's feminine. So you should try to memorize the gender as the article. So it's nukes with a hey, or hey nukes. Okay. All right. Now, if this is a third declension form, we've got a nu here that is probably movable. If you remember your paradigm, there's usually parentheses around that nu. And here I have a sigma that should go with the iota, but the sigma has combined with something to create this xi. What has it combined with? The real stem is nuked, right? Because we get that from nuktos. Drop the os, we've got nuked left. So nuked plus a sigma, and then the iota. And what happens here? Nuked plus the C. First thing, tau's before sigma do what? Yes. Is tau a dental? Remember, tau's a dental consonant. The dentals are teeth, and teeth like to fall out, don't they? So the tau goes AWOL on us. And then I'm left with a kappa and a sigma. And what do those like to combine to become? They combine to become a xi. And then you can't xi it properly. So you get that. Okay? And then my movable nu is tacked on at the end. So which case ending in the third declension is C? Ah, this was chapter 10. We're 10 chapters away from this. What? It's dative, plural. That's right. And the gender is, it's got hey for the article, so it's feminine, right? So dative, plural, feminine.
I was wondering why it was dated plural, but you just answered it.
Yes. The sigma of the C dative plural ending has been obscured. All right. So how would we translate it? Using dative keywords, in, with, nights. And remember, since it's plural, we want to add an S on night here. Okay. Others? By the way, when we're parsing these forms, choosing whether it's middle or passive is hard because we don't have any context. If you're reading the Greek New Testament and you're looking at an entire passage or pericope, a portion of a text, it's going to be fairly clear most of the time if your form is middle or passive. Okay?
Context rules.
Yes, it does. Absolutely. All right. Let's look at the warm-ups if there aren't any other questions there. So any warm-up questions?
Yes. Can you do delta?
Okay, let's look at delta. So we have autoi pisteuantai hupaton daimonion. Autoi, what does that mean? Taylor, what'd you get for that?
They.
They. And is this a female or a male they?
Male.
It's masculine, right. So autai with the alpha would be feminine. Good. So is this nominative?
Yes.
Good. And that means it's probably going to be the subject of this verb that we're going to see, because we have tai, which is also third plural, and they is third plural, right? Now, look at this form here. Is that active or middle passive?
Middle passive.
Yeah, in the form it's middle passive. Now I have a choice to make. If it's middle, it's going to look like this, and if it's passive, it's going to look the same way. But I have to look at the rest of the sentence and ask myself, would it make sense to view this as more of a middle idea or more of a passive idea? Well, look at hupa. What case is the object of the preposition hupa here? Tone daimonion. Yeah. It's genitive. Okay, so hupa plus the genitive means what? By. And I see this in what kind of constructions? Passive constructions. This is telling me who did the action to the subject of that passive verb. So I've got a choice. This could be middle or passive, but in this context, it's easy to choose. It's got to be the passive one. Okay? And if it's passive, how am I going to translate this? They, what? If it's passive, they're not doing the believing, but someone's believing them. So they are believed. No, they are believed, right? Save the ing form for when we have something active. Okay, if it's passive, we're going to use believed. They are believed. That's possible if what you're saying is like right now, while they're talking, they're being believed. Okay? This is one of those situations where Mounce might do that, but I don't think it's necessary to always use that progressive idea for present. So they are believed, hupa, by whom? By the demons. Okay? Question?
Yeah. So the lexical form for pistio or for pisteuantai is pistio, right?
Mm-hmm.
So can it be middle at all if it doesn't have that middle passive lexical form?
It can be middle. It can be middle, but it wouldn't be with that hupa, because the if it's middle, that means the subject is doing the believing.
Right. Well, I thought
Right.
something could only be middle if its lexical form was in that middle passive.
No. So if a verb has an active lexical form, it is possible for someone to choose to use it in the middle voice with a middle meaning.
Okay, so the passive ending is it can always be either middle or passive depending on context.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. Theoretically, anyway. Now, it just may be the case that some verb that has an active voice lexical form, when you see the middle passive, maybe that particular verb is always passive when it's used in the history of Greek. Okay? In other words, it may never be used with any kind of middle meaning. That is theoretically possible too, and it's just a matter of learning the language and finding out. Okay. What else among these warm-up exercises shall we look at? Zeta. Let's look at zeta. Everybody, let's say it together. Ready? Erchamai. Oh, let's say it together in unison. Ready? Erchamai hos kleptes. Okay, that wasn't quite in unison, bro. All right, erchamai hos kleptes. Who's performing the action here based on the ending? Peter, we don't ask for that? Yeah, so this is I. So that's first singular, right? What is the lexical form here of this verb? It's erchomai. It's the same as what we see. Isn't that nice? Okay, so that means that what would normally be the present active indicative, lexical form, ends with a my ending. So does it ever have an active form in the present? No. What's it mean, though, even though it's got this my ending? It's to go or come, right? So I'm just going to translate this as I come, go, or am coming, am going. You need to know your context better, but here, the idea, I think this is Jesus speaking, right? That he's coming back to you. So from your perspective, he's approaching. So we're going to use come or am coming. I am coming, hos kleptes. What's that? Hos is one of our new words. Well, kleptes is thief, but hos is like or as. Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
And kleptes? Thief. Now, what form of kleptes is this? Is this nominative, genitive? Does anybody know?
It's nominative.
It's nominative, exactly. This is like the verb, not the verb, the noun prophetes. Prophetes, and that's prophet, nominative case. And mathetes is disciple. Okay, this is kleptes, and it means what? It means thief. Thief. So
Even though it has a eta sigma ending, that would not make it genitive.
okay, now the reason I asked the question about case is because I wanted to see what y'all would say. A lot of times when you say that eta sigma, that should make you think. This is a first declension noun that's genitive singular, okay? And that is the case, pardon the pun, with first declension nouns that are feminine. But kleptes is a first declension noun that's actually masculine. And first declension nouns that are masculine will usually get that sigma on the lexical form. And then in the genitive, believe it or not, ace becomes u. So kleptes would be kleptu. And then the dative would go back to eta. And then the accusative would go back to nu, eta nu. So kleptane. So what ends up happening is most of the time first declension nouns are feminine, but when they're masculine, usually there's little hints and clues to tell you it's a masculine first declension noun. One of them being this what you typically associate with masculine nominatives, a sigma at the end, logos, right? And then this omicron upsilon genitive form. That looks like a masculine second declension noun, doesn't it?
So how would we know?
Now, yeah, this is just one of those things where you'll learn that there are lots of nouns that follow this pattern. And here's the other thing. Why is this nominative? It's because Jesus is comparing his coming like a thief's coming. So basically, this is a shortened form of something like, I am coming like a thief comes. That's why kleptes is in the nominative case, because kleptes' function is inherently that is the subject of an implied verb. Okay?
So does that happen often in like comparisons when they use as, like if it's a nominative and it doesn't have a verb following?
Yes.
That verb translates over to
Yeah, sometimes. Now let me give you a different example. I could say something like this. I love you like a brother. I love you like a brother. What case would you be? I love you like a brother. It'd be accusative. So now here's the question. Do I mean by that, I love you like I love a brother, or I love you like a brother loves people? Well, in English, it's ambiguous, isn't it? But in Greek, I have to choose a case for the word brother, don't I? So, if I chose nominative case, what am I saying? I love you like a nominative brother loves people. Or, if it's accusative case, I'm saying I love you like I love a brother. You see? And so, yes, if you pay attention to that, you're going to be able to see what's going on when you see these comparative sorts of statements. This is one way in which Greek is cool because it can give you more information than English can.
So I translated it, I came like a thief.
Ah.
That's wrong because
This
it's
is-
it's a pronoun.
No, it's not wrong. That's not wrong because it's deponent. It's because it's a present middle indicative, not a.
Oh, okay, 'cause
It's
that
not a
was-
past tense verb. It's, yeah, you translate it as past, but it's a present verb. Yeah. Yes. So if you look at gamma, it's not erkamai, but erkatai. So it's not I, but someone else. Who? He, she, or it, right? And so what tense do I want to use for this? What's the only tense we know? Present. So use your present tense. He is coming, Asoikon, into the house. Or she is coming. Now, it is the case that in narrative, sometimes present tense verbs can be used for past time actions. You'll see this in Greek in the Gospels, and you hear it in English at times. Someone's telling a story. Yesterday I went to the store, and this clerk says to me, "What do you want?" I switched to a present tense with says, didn't I? Does that mean she's saying it now? No. No. I can still relate past time action using present tense forms where the context is clearly past. And so we're going to see that in the Gospels too. Here we don't have any context, so I think it best to go ahead and, recognize this is a present, middle, indicative, third person singular, and so we're going to use present tense value for it. I don't remember what Mounce does. He may have translated it past, but I would do present here with no more context than what we've got. All right. Any other questions?
For Ada, I guess it's not supposed to be double negative because it's English, but
Mhm.
do you care if I put and he answered nothing to no one?
I'd be fine with that.
Okay.
And he answered nothing to
I
no
know it's
one.
like not English.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's a literal.
But of course, you've given this past time translation, haven't? Did you say answers or answered?
Answers, my bad.
Oh, okay, answers. Yeah.
He answered nothing to no one.
Mm-hmm.
I guess I was trying to be literal, but I didn't know.
Right. Yeah. So in Greek, two negatives do not make a positive. They make it even more negative.
Oh, yeah.
So when we're translating, do you prefer like a literal translation or a more?
I like it to be as literal as you can make it without being absurd. So, try to translate it literally, but then massage it a little bit to make some decent English style. Like some people will notice that I don't see any examples of it here, but sometimes your Greek verb is first and then your Greek subject is second. In English, putting the subject after the verb just sounds atrocious to me. Went John to the bathroom is Yoda speak.
What about articles? So, for example, you have like the God.
Mm-hmm.
Thing. Do you want us to drop that article?
Yeah, in English, there's no need for that article to be there in English. Unless it's intended to highlight the uniqueness of the being. So there may be some circumstances where, where I would want to say the God.
Sure. Like in general.
But in general, sometimes articles are used where we don't in English. Okay, what about translation homework here? Questions on these?
I actually do have number 5. So he translated as you don't what do you say? Are you not answering me something? But where did the me come from? Is that just implied and we're supposed to assume it's there? Because I didn't see me anywhere.
You're right. Uk apakrene uden.
I just put you don't answer anything question.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the me is implied in this present
Okay.
sentence.
So if we were to translate that like on a test and we didn't put the me, would that be counted?
It wouldn't count you wrong at all. I think he's trying to smooth it out a bit because you know, I suppose most of the time in Greek, the person being answered is mentioned or specified, or maybe not most of the time, but many times that is the case. And it may be that he's chopped it off in such a way that maybe the me was there, but he didn't want to stick it in. I don't know for sure.
All right, appreciate it.
Yeah. But if you look at apakrene, what is the lexical form for apakrene here? Yeah, after the nu, it's oh my, right? Apakrenomai, which means in its active form, or what's supposed to be the active form, we don't have an active form. We have a middle passive form. So Mounce would say, yeah, this is one of those deponent verbs that's active in meaning, even though it's middle passive in form. It means to answer. So with that eta and iota subscript, that's the psi ending where we've had the sigma drop out and gotten contraction. So this is you singular. Don't answer anything? Question. You don't answer anything? Or do you not answer anything? See that question mark? There it is. All right. Other questions?
Just confirming what we talked about in number 5. So for apokrene, since it's a middle voice verb, the object is implied, so we would just put a me if we wanted to.
Right. Yes. You could if you're wanting to specify that the direction of that answering is me, you could put that in parentheses. And then what is being answered, that is the content, is what the uden is, right? The nothing.
Can you number 6?
Okay. Sure. Let's look at 6 here. All right. Shall we read it together out loud? Ready? Kai sun agontai hoi apostoloi prostan Iesun kai ap angelon alto, hold it, panta, and then back over here, hasa epoiesan kai hasa edidaxan. So he's using some past tense forms that you don't know, but he's giving you the translation here. So in number 4 here, number 6, we have kai sun agon tai hoi apostoloi. There's my tai ending, and that is what person and number? That's third plural. And do I have a plural nominative subject that could be the subject of this? Yeah, we've got the apostles. So subject follows the verb, right? So, and the what? Apostles. And then what does this verb mean? Sun ago. To gather. It does have an active form for its lexical form, right? It's sun ago. So when I see a middle passive ending, I need to ask myself, is this the kind of verb that can have a passive meaning? And it can, because you can gather something. So that could mean things, are gathered, right? If you can gather something with a direct object, then that direct object could become the subject of a passive verb. Something was gathered or is gathered. So the apostles are gathered. Now, if this is in the Gospels, this present tense form could be used for a past time action. And if it is, it would be were gathered. But for now, let's leave it present tense, because this is a present tense form. So the apostles are gathered pros tan Iesun. What's that mean? To or towards Jesus. So the apostles are gathered to Jesus. Kai. And then I have apengelon. Now notice he's translated this as past because this is a past tense verb form. And that is going to now make color that present tense form and probably make us want to translate it past. So the apostles were gathered to Jesus and they told auto, him, dative singular, right? They told him or told to him. Panta, what's that? All things. What case gender number is that? So my stem is pont with an alpha at the end. What could a third declension alpha case ending be doing? It could be accusative, singular masculine, and it could be nominative or accusative, plural, neuter. Those are my possibilities. Look at hassa right here. That's hostis. Hostis. You see the alpha there, hassa? What's that from? What does that alpha tell us? This is telling us it's neuter plural. So this is neuter plural, nominative or accusative. Okay, and that's going to commit me to that understanding of panta, meaning all things or everything. Everything which or everything whichsoever, but probably just everything which epoiasan they did. What's that?
Are you adding in the which?
No, the word. Oh no, this is not hostis. This is hassas. Sorry.
As much as.
Yeah. So adding panta hassas is going to best be translated as something like all or everything that. He gives you a footnote here. You have to be pretty free with your translation of this word. I mean, if you were being literal with how you could translate hassas, all as much as they did, right? As great as or as many as, yeah. Putting the all in front of it makes it hard to translate it that way. So if you want to highlight the all, then you're just going to say all, which, or that they did. All right. And then same thing, and all that they taught. So he's had to give you those translations there. Okay. Any other questions? Okay, so number 7. This is a good short one. That's nice. So legusin auto. Is this a present tense verb form? Legusin? Yes. Is it active or middle passive? Looking at that usi ending. It's active. So the subject is going to do the action here, right? So how would we translate this? Yeah, so they say, okay, to him, erikamatha. So this is what they're saying. Erikamatha kai hume sunsoi. What's erikamatha? The metha ending. That's first plural. So we are coming. Good. So we are coming. Kai hu meis. So is this we are coming and us or and we? Okay. Yeah, kai has a couple of ways it can be translated. And, even, also. Okay. Here it's probably best rendered as also. And this is what case? He meis. This is not as easy to see for case, but hopefully you had memorized your pronouns, right? So this is nominative. So it's first plural and it's nominative. So it's really the subject of that, isn't it? So we probably want to translate this before er cometh. So also we, or we also are coming. Soon soy. What's soon? With. Soon is with. Soy, you. So we also are coming with you. All right. Others?
Well, no, a quick question.
Mhm.
So, Kai, when it's translated to and, could you put it at the front and say, and they are saying?
Yeah, so you could have had Kai legusin here. So, and they say to him, okay? So, when Kai has a sense like and, what it's going to do is it's going to join two things that are like each other. So A and B will be similar. So Jack and Jill, right? Jack, Kai, Jill. Ate and played. Ate, Kai, played. So here, I don't have a pronoun that Kai is joining with this pronoun. So if it had been something like, we are coming, they and we with you, then I'd want to translate it as Kai. But when I have a Kai, but not two things that are of sort of equal value or rank to join with the Kai, then I want to be thinking of one of these other ways of rendering the Kai, which would be even or also. Okay. Any other number here? For Philip's sake, let's look at number 1 real quickly. Now, this is just related to that question. U akuantai. My personal ending is ntai here, right? Which person and number is that? It's third plural. What's the lexical form of akuantai? Akuo. So I actually do have an active form available to me in the present, don't I? So whatever this is, it's a middle passive form. It's either going to be a true middle in meaning or a true passive in meaning. Now, third person plural is the personal ending. That means I might be looking for a plural nominative noun to be my subject. Do I have one in the sentence somewhere? Yeah, hyphonai. Hyphonai is nominative plural. So that could be the subject, couldn't it? So let me ask you, this means what? Sounds. Do sounds listen or are sounds heard? Sounds are heard. So out of the choices, do I want to think of the sounds as actively listening for their own benefit, or are sounds being heard here? Probably heard. So we'll go with the passive idea. Yeah, this is a wild guess. So I'm gonna parse this as present passive indicative, and then third plural. Okay, sorry about my indicative there. Okay, so the sounds, and then I have this altone following. So whose sounds? Of them. So the sounds of them are their sounds. Now it's negated. U akuantai. So what's that mean? Yeah, the voices or the sounds of them are not heard. Are not heard. So here I translated sounds, but voices would also be just as well, right? So their voices are not heard. How sad. Does that make sense?
Get out 3 minutes early. Question mark.
Yeah, we have 3 minutes. Anybody want to throw in one more question?
Can I ask a really dumb question?
Yes, I like dumb questions.
Cool. So, for some of these middle, I mean, I don't know if you know, but for some of the middle forms, like where the lexical form is only middle,
Mm-hmm.
has that always been the case, even with like classical Greek, or did like those forms, or were those forms at least some of them active, and they just kind of dropped away over time?
I haven't read classical Greek to know for specific verbs if there's been a shift or not. It'd be a good thing to ask Dr. Jones about that. I tend to think that if a form in the Koine period or the Hellenistic period, which is what we're dealing with, doesn't have any active forms at all, it's probably that it never did. But we are going to see that the Hellenistic or Koine period is a period where Greek is in transition, because Alexander the Great has conquered the known world and has brought Greek language with him. And all of these people who speak other languages besides Greek are now going to start adopting Greek as their language for one thing or another, and for business, commerce, politics, whatever. But then their children are going to grow up in that context where they're going to speak Greek natively. And as happens so frequently, when Greek and other languages go to people and places that don't speak it natively, it tends to simplify and standardize in ways that someone in the motherland wouldn't have done with it. Like in English, our kids take irregular forms and they try to standardize them, don't they? So our kids will say things like, yesterday I go to the store, and we correct them and laugh and say, no, it's I went, honey, it's I went. And then we make sure that they say it properly. So we're going to see some transition going on in the Koine period, where some of these verbs that are typically understood as deponent and they use the middle forms, we're going to see that sometimes the passive forms start being used for that feature, but we're not going to translate them as passive. I mean, we're going to translate them as middle or active. And in an earlier stage of Greek, they wouldn't have used the passive form for that deponent form at all. Yeah. All right, good. Well, we'll stop there.